Welcome back to another episode of Cape Ann Today. I am with Stephen Hagan from who covers Rockport and Manchester by the Sea and Essex, and Ethan Foreman from Gloucester. Hi, you guys.
Hey, Heather.
Hi, Stephen. Let's talk with
Hi.
you. Hi. So there was some really hard news in Rockport yesterday. Can you tell us more about the story of the divers?
Yeah, we basically had two people that have been confirmed that died diving off the coast of Rockport, Back Beach and Front Beach. The information has been challenging to come by, dealing with the Essex DA's office, the Rockport police, the Rockport harbor master. Basically, what we know from the DA's office is there are two people, possibly we've heard, not confirmed, but possibly related, that died diving. Beyond that, we're waiting for more information today from the Essex DA's office. As I said, this is me editorializing, but the information has been scant from some local public officials, so it's been a real challenge for us to put this together. It's very sad.
I did see in your article that one of the divers was 70 years old. Is
That's
that right?
right. That's
Yeah.
correct. One was and he apparently, we are hearing he may be related to the other diver that was recovered. Paul Bilodeau, our photographer, once again did a crack job getting photographs, many of which he didn't share because they were so graphic. But I think the stories, the photographs that ran in the paper were the right photographs that really told the story. They were very sad, very painful, but the reaction of the family, rescue officials at the beach, combining, it's very, very sad.
And Stephen,
Yes,
in the afternoon on
it happened. We started getting reports in the late morning. So yeah, it was an all-day affair.
But is there any, I realize you know almost nothing, but I will ask this question anyway. Do you know how people learned of this accident? You know, the middle of the day, it's were they not showing up when they should have?
I can't answer that question. I
Yeah,
don't know the genesis of where information came from. And we got information on scanners. Even the scanner information was very not very clear. So, but we got some contacts that definitely tipped us off to what was going on. Kudos to Ethan, kudos to Paul Bilodeau for pulling together what they did. And I felt like an idiot trying to gather information with it that wasn't coming across in a forthright manner, but it's part of the job.
Well, I realize, out of complete respect for the families and loved ones, that you really, there's a reason to be cautious about letting this information out. And yet, if there's any sort of warning signs for divers going forward, maybe it would be important to know what's happened.
Yes, that's true, Heather. This is not the first, and probably, unfortunately, will not be the last diver death coming from our Cape Ann communities, in particular Rockport. Rockport is a site of, I forget the name of the outcropping, but there's an outcropping that's visible from the shore. You probably know it. I mentioned it before in my prior article. We lost. There was a diver who died. A woman died a few short months ago near this outcropping where she was diving. And there's a long history of many deaths. So
if there's anything that would be helpful for divers to know from this accident, I hope at one point this information comes out. And by the way, that's called the dry selvages.
Thank you. That's correct. That is correct. And surprisingly, you can see it. I mean, with your eye from the shore, and you can probably see it from. I wouldn't want to take liberty, but I know you live in Rockport, and I think you might be able to see it from your front yard.
No, I can't, because I live on the other side. I face west, which is a strange situation.
Right.
This peninsula, yeah.
I've heard about those people that live in West near Rockport.
We
They're
watched
trouble.
Sunset, which is kind of a
So if I may, Heather, just talk about a couple of other things. One is it's another grant, this time for Manchester, $112,281 to protect coastal issues, especially downtown in the harbor of Manchester by the Sea. It's a grant, it's part of a several $1 million grant that goes to not only Manchester, but Salem, Beverly, other communities on the North Shore and down on the South Shore, as well as the Cape and Islands. So more money for planning for coastal protection.
And is there any, has Manchester by the Sea decided how to use these funds?
Just got it. No.
Okay.
Also, I'm working on a story, actually going to file a story about, speaking of the sea, the Essex Historical Society archives has been curated by historian Jim Witham for a long time. He is being honored by the town in the sense that he's having the archives named after him. There's a ceremony coming up in a few weeks. And I will have a story that I'll be filing later today that describes him. I talked to him, I talked to his wife, I talked to Mr. Burnham, Harold Burnham, who's a big part of Essex shipping and the history of shipping. And this man, Mr. Witham, he's part of a collection at this shipbuilding. Actually, it's not in the museum. It's located at the old schoolhouse. I never even knew about it. It's in another part of town, and apparently the collection has thousands of photographs, plans, even little models of ships. So our staff photographer, again, Paul Bilodeau, will be heading out there, I believe, later today to photograph Mr. Witham with all the materials in his office. And so other than that, I've been really focused this week with putting the finishing touches on a couple of stories for Cape Ann magazine, our sister publication. And one involves the game Monopoly and a company in Manchester by the Sea. And another involves another Manchester entrepreneur, a woman who is affiliated, works for the company Mary Posa, and she has started her own business on the online site Etsy, and it's taking off like a passion. It's just really doing very well. So that's my focus this day.
Good stories, Stephen.
Thank you, and I do apologize for 2 weeks ago missing the connection with you, and that's on me, and I humbly apologize and beg your forgiveness.
You're all forgiven.
Continue this one. I'm sorry?
You're all forgiven, and I just missed you. That's all. So
well, thank you, Heather.
Yeah. So let's not let it happen again.
Crack that whip.
Well, for all the good reasons. So Ethan, I read a story this morning in the paper that you had written about 20 Main Street in Gloucester. Do you want to tell us what's going on there?
Yeah, I do. And I just want to say that, our thoughts and prayers to the family of these divers. It's terrible tragedy for them. And it's not anything that I think we enjoy covering. I don't think we want to cover, personally want to cover these kind of things, these personal tragedies. But hopefully we can inform readers, and hopefully we'll get it's when we're taping this is Thursday, and hopefully we'll get some more information and be able to bring it to readers. And yeah, you mentioned 20 Main Street, 20 Main Street. That this is a follow-up article that we had done previously. We talked about a development to create what is now a 20-unit apartment building, mixed-use building at 20 Main Street. It's the Fisherman's Outfitters building, the former Fisherman's Outfitters building. They've moved down onto Washington Street. And back when we wrote about it a few months ago, we had talked about the fact that the project, I think there was some concern that the project was a done deal. but it's gonna need more permitting before the city council. And probably the planning board's gonna do some site review. It's not a done deal, and there's an appeal. Neighbors who live on Middle Street, where if you know Main Street in Gloucester, people know Main Street. It's where it's on the opposite side, not on the Virgilio side, on the opposite, on the sort of short main side of the street.
Mhm.
Yeah, the sort of Blackburn building side. And it's right now what's sitting there is a retail store. It's like that can actually conforms to zoning, which is a very rare thing in Gloucester. And they want to basically put a building that would take up the entire lot. And a couple who live on Middle Street are concerned that this building is going to become really close to their retaining wall, could undermine. They're afraid that it's going to undermine their retaining wall, block their views. But I think what they're frustrated about was that because they had moved into the house in January, they never got notified of the hearings before the zoning board of appeals and the historic district commission. And I feel frustrated by that because of the notices went to the old owners.
Yeah.
That's all that, one of these, whenever I do these development stories, one of the biggest complaints, sometimes isn't about the development or, they obviously don't want increased development in the downtown. It's crowded as it is. But it's the process, when they feel like they're shut out of the process or they're not allowed to be included in the decision making, this frustration, because at the time they heard about this, the ZBA had already decided on the variances. Now, project still has to go through a review of city council, and with this legal appeal by the condo owners, it's probably going to take a while for these. It takes time for a ZBA appeal to work its way through. It's zoning is very complicated.
How that works though, the fact that it sounds like a legitimate claim that they never got the notice because they were in the process of buying the building. So that's
they moved into their house. They moved into their house in January, I believe. And the hearing for the ZBA was already ongoing. So they never got that notice. And to be fair to them, I think in a lot of just in general, a lot of these stories, you do development stories, there's always that complaint about that. They feel like they're shut out, they're not heard, they're not allowed to get in decision making. Which we had already reported on, there was a lot of support for this project, from Virgilio's to Tono to other people who live in the area.
Like 220 people signed the petition for it.
Well, no, back in the original article, they just received, I think it's like 54 letters of support or something like that. No letters in opposition. And so, if you're the ZBA, people are coming out and saying, we like this, the developer had a letter writing campaign to try to, get support.
Right.
The abutting building is saying it's fine,
Right.
And the ZBA is being asked to basically if you know Main Street, the building's it's just full of buildings that take up the lots. There's no vegetation. The buildings come right to the edge of the sidewalk, and it seemed to fit in. They want to make it in character, so it's brick. But this is it's a struggle in a city that's built up. But then the residents concerned about their own property because it's just a granite retaining wall. It looks like an ancient granite retaining wall in their backyard.
Well, it is an old house, right? Like
1853.
Yeah.
But again, it's people who want housing in Gloucester, and this is like 20 units. Probably will be inclusionary zoning will probably mean that there'll be some affordable units as well. They scaled it back. I think they took down a floor. The developers took down a floor before the historic district commission, so it's been scaled back. So you can see both sides, right? A lot of people are against it. About 200 people are writing in opposition, and now the couple want to form a neighborhood association to try to get their voice heard in Ward 2 in this very beautiful historic part of Gloucester. Mill Street, it's a gem of a street. so is Main Street. So we'll see how this all works out. So I think it's gonna just we'll have to wait to see how that appeal works before we do any more follow-up.
Yeah. No, you talked about how, all the work that goes in advance of these sorts of decisions, and rarely is it malicious. I mean, really rarely. It's usually just they got lots of letters of support. There was no opposition. Why would they not approve this project?
Yeah, and again, I didn't follow that the initial ZBA. I think the initial concern about the project was people felt like it was going to go through without any more input, but that's not the case. It's going before the city council. If the developer moves forward, it goes before the city council.
Okay. So, and then speaking of building, the ground has been broken in Gloucester twice this week.
Yeah. So, if you want to talk about development, people are pretty much well aware of the coming library. 14,000 square foot addition at the back of the library towards School Street in what is essentially their parking lot. And that finally broke ground. I don't know if you saw the Gloucester Daily Times on Monday.
Shiny shovels, all
the
shiny shovels.
But
yeah.
but they
That's
they commissioned a Lego. That's actually Emily Siegel of the Gloucester Education Foundation looking at it. But that's the addition right there.
Yeah.
I think you always have any project should always have a Lego model commissioned by the architect, which was commissioned by the architect. So there's the addition, and there's the original library, and they're trying to sort of blend the architectural styles. Anyway, they had a great groundbreaking. Mern Sibley was there, the president of the Sawyer Free Library in Gloucester Lyceum. She's done a great job of helping to shepherd this project forward. Hats off to Mern and the board. The Sawyer Free Library Foundation is raising money. This is an entirely supported project by grants and donations. The city has a $29 million loan order to back the project and allow the financing for it to move forward. But they basically have 5 years to raise about $11 million. So I urge you to everyone should dig deep, because it's very rare for a city or town to have a privately funded library building project. Usually it goes to a debt exclusion, goes to an override, and taxpayers foot the bill. And here, no. But hopefully, they'll come through, and I think they will. They've got about more than $17 million. About $10 million of that from a Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners funding for both green incentives and about a more than $9 million grant that actually spurred this project forward. Once they got that grant, they had to, they wanted to move forward with it. So it's total renovation of the library inside the old 1976 wing. There's a connector wing and also to the old Saunders house. It's also going to be renovated. And they're going to have like a teen room, new children's room on the second floor. It's going to be a great amenity for Gloucester. And again, privately supported. So SawyerFreeLibrary.org, check it out, donate. It's going to be a great amenity.
So Ethan, the
2025 is when it's going to open.
Okay, 2025. Do we have a month? Like, how many months of construction are we talking about?
I think they're talking about 18 months.
Okay. But
don't hold me to it.
Okay, all right. The interim library is on Main Street, right near
21 Main Street, across the street from
the
Main Street.
Yeah, right.
And in fact, when they did the Lego, unveiling of this Lego model, they had they were great. They had a Lego library construction
right,
construction event, and at 20 Main Street at that building. So it's like, it's Gloucester's a small place and everything is connected.
There's a constellation of something happening down there.
Yeah. And now another groundbreaking if you want to talk about Legos, but now you have to look at this.
Oh,
that's Romeo. That's Romeo right there. Romeo. I got to meet Romeo.
Where's my Ruby? She's not here. Oh, there she is.
Oh, there's Ruby. So Romeo was the star of the groundbreaking for Cape Ann Animal Aid. And that's also a privately supported project, $1.7 million capital campaign The existing facility is the Christopher Cutler Rich Animal Shelter, which was built about 12 years ago. Also through the largesse of the Christopher Cutler Rich family. He was a young man who died from Hamilton as a boy, loved animals. And they had a big outpouring for him, and they donated money to make this Cape Ann Animal Aid shelter possible. And now they need more room. They need more room for isolation space for when they bring in puppies from elsewhere. They need more laundry on the second floor. That's the big thing. When you have like hundreds of pounds of, dirty towels and whatever, you need, so it's going to be a great amenity for Cape Ann and probably the region. Because, it's one of there's Northeast Animal in Salem, not too many. So Kate Glidner, the new president of the Cape Ann Animal Aid, was there, along with their capital campaign chair, Cindy Dunn. Sneva Buck, the executive director of the organization, also spoke. And the project manager is a volunteer named Steve Howard, is shepherding the project. He's a volunteer, and he's their project manager.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, so Mayor Greg Verger was there, Jeff Worthley, city councilor, Jason Grow, and Tony Gross were also on hand. And the family of, and not only that, but Yvonne Wood, she's vital to this project, to this expansion, because she's a Rockport resident. She gave $1 million toward this. And then when they were raising money, she decided to give a $250,000 match grant, which they matched. So she's actually responsible for another $250,000, and then that match grant brought another $250,000. So, yeah, I think the project's going to be about a year.
And it's on the same site. It's
right next door. Right, it's connected. Just like same building, just expanded.
Yeah, right.
There's a picture here.
There. Oh, that's the addition on the right.
Yeah, this is the addition, and it's named for her husband, Walter Wood. It's the Walter and Yvonne Wood.
Oh, nice.
Wing of Hope.
Wing of Hope. Oh.
Because, and they have thousands of animals go through there. They have, at any given day there might be 100 animals in that place.
It's amazing.
It's if you're thinking about getting a dog or a cat, go there.
Yeah. Well, I have the best dog in the world and the best cat in the world, and they both came from there.
Oh
no, I know. So and Ruby's right over there looking out the window. Cats. Well, and what are you working on, Ethan? I know what you're working on, Stephen. You're pulling off that Cape Ann magazine, 2 stories there. And Ethan, what are you working on next week?
Well, it's election season, so I got to do a calendar of all the different forums. And today, which is Thursday, I'm gonna put my head in on a flag raising for domestic abuse awareness in the city of Gloucester.
All right. Well, thank you as ever for being with me today. I really appreciate it. And I will see you next week.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Bye.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.